In this video, you'll learn how to integrate any AI model inside of your Slack channel. This is possible thanks to the MindStudio integration with Zapier that lets you bring your AI agents built without code or with a bit of code inside of your Slack channel. Here you can see we are triggering the flow only when the message contains --li. We don't want this channel to be the AI channel. We want this to be a generic channel that anyone in the team can use, which can also have the additional benefit of using AI. Here you can see a normal message, "Hey team, can we get a new LinkedIn post up today?" and a reply from myself. Now let's try to ask our AI to generate a new post. Let's type in --li a post about perplexity AI. This rhymes, so it's a good one to replicate. Let's press on enter and see what happens. The first action here is from Zapier, and it's coming from LinkedIn Expert, the name of our bot. This LinkedIn Expert is telling us working on it. Since AI can take a little bit to research the topic, write the LinkedIn post, and output it here in the same thread, we want the user to feel like something is happening. We don't want it to just be blank until the response is ready. So that's why we added the working on it message right here. After a minute or so, the 3 variants for the post are ready. You can see that the posts are about Perplexity AI, and these are all contextual with real information coming from the web about Perplexity AI. So here is variant 1, here is variant 2, and here is variant 3. These are very solid posts, and they are trained on material from Justin Welsh on his LinkedIn page. We didn't ask him, we hope he's not angry about it, but he posts very, very good material. He's one of the top ranked LinkedIn influencers, but in reality, you should use your own post. Your company post should dictate how the AI types and your tone of voice, and you should replicate that here in the LinkedIn post generator. Okay, so we saw the front end. This is what happens. This is what you see happening on the front end in Slack. But what's happening in the background are 2 main flows. The first flow is a Zapier workflow. This is what that looks like. The first step is whenever a new message is posted to this channel, Lee Post Generator, generate a post. Trigger this Zap. The second is please only continue if the message in the channel contains --li. Ignore all of the other messages. Do not trigger this workflow if the message doesn't include --li. Third step is format this text. I want to remove --li. That's not relevant to my prompt, what I'm sending to the AI later on. Fourth step, I'm sending a channel message in the same thread, meaning a reply to the existing message. This is where we say working on it. We are running a MindStudio workflow, which is what actually generates the post. And finally, we are displaying the output of this post on the front end in the Slack channel. Please don't worry, we will do this step by step together with a new AI and a new Zap workflow. I just wanted you to take a look before we jump in. Lastly, the MindStudio workflow looks like this. It's actually a very simple workflow that only does 2 things. The first one is researching the topic. We are using the model from Perplexity, Sonar Large Online, to research whatever the user entered in the Slack channel. And then we are writing the post using Claude 3.5 Sonnet because it's typically better than other models at writing copy. Gemini is also a good choice, and GPT-4o Mini is not bad. Now, let's start from scratch and try to understand how to integrate MindStudio in Zapier, how easy it is to work on one of these workflows that operate and do something for you inside of other apps, and also understand a little bit more about the special syntax that you see right here, launch variables, arrow to the right, and the name of the variable. When you build a workflow in MindStudio and you use the workflow within the MindStudio platform, this is what that looks like. It starts, it captures some user inputs, usually in a form-like manner, prompts the AI for a response, and displays the response. So again, the workflow starts, we save whatever the user enters in the input in a variable, and that variable has a name. You can reference it with the graphs like this, and it will always be synced to whatever the user inputs in that form. This is a massively important concept in MindStudio. What makes the prompts powerful is that they are dynamic. The prompt changes depending on what the user enters, what information you're providing to the prompt before it's sent to the AI to request an output. Then, once we have the inputs, we build the prompt for the AI. In this example, the prompt is user said whatever is in the input. Again, this is dynamic. Reply to what's in the input. So if you type what is SEO here, what we are actually sending is user said what is SEO, reply. Finally, you display the response from the bot. The main difference between this workflow working in the MindStudio platform and a workflow running through the API of MindStudio is that the form interface is not there. You are not entering any input when using Slack. The input exists, the variable exists, but it's not in MindStudio. When you work on a workflow like in Zapier, you start from Zapier and capture the user inputs in the Slack channel. So in this example, hello bot is going to be saved as the API variable input. You are going to send this variable later on and sync it so that the prompt can be dynamic. Basically, what happens is exactly what you've seen before. You are taking a user input and you are sending that input into the prompt so that that prompt can be dynamic. The AI can respond to a dynamic prompt. The difference is that instead of typing that prompt in a normal form-like interface, you're now typing it in Slack. And what you need to do is taking it from Slack and sending it to MindStudio. That's when prompting the AI comes into play. You will prompt the AI using this special syntax: $, launch variables, arrow to the right, and the name of the variable. In this example, the name of the variable is input, and here we are invoking the variable input. Again, this variable is what's in Slack. In this example, hello bot. So what this does is insert hello bot to whatever prompt we type. In this example, user said, launch variables, arrow to the right, input, reply, which will become user said, hello bot, reply. I hope this is clear. You will get used to it working on API workflows. What you need to remember is, if the variable exists and is created within the MindStudio platform, you refer to it with normal graph parentheses. If the variable is created outside of MindStudio and you want to refer to it inside of the MindStudio workflow, you use launch variables input, because what you're doing is launching that variable, initializing it from somewhere else. And you want that now to appear in the prompt where you're typing it. Now, let's generate our MindStudio app to generate LinkedIn posts. To create a new app, click on the plus icon in the top left corner of your workspace and then create AI. You can start from an AI prompt, which is the generate prompt option, or you can start from a blank AI and fill everything up by yourself. Let's choose blank AI. Then click on next, and you'll be brought to the main dashboard to interact with the flow and build the AI workflow in MindStudio. The first thing we want to do is click on Untitled AI, which will let us name this app. Let's name it LinkedIn Post Generator. Then we want to go back to the main flow and enter a prompt. You can do this in many ways. You can delete the main prompt and then click on Generate Prompt to have the AI generate it for you, or you can write it yourself. I wrote a very quick prompt. You can see it right here. It just says you are on LinkedIn post generator. This is the response formatting. We're going to post this message on Slack, so use Slack formatting. Then we want to go to the Automations tab, and this is where the actual magic happens. The two blocks we need are a Generate Text block to research the topic and the Generate Text block to write the article. I already have these two, so let me paste them in, and you can see the two blocks right here. Remember, you can now copy-paste any block in your MindStudio flows to bring them from one app to the other. Since I already built these for the previous app, I just copy-pasted them here. However, let's take a look before we move forward. The first block has a very simple prompt. Human wants to research this topic to write a compelling LinkedIn post. Here's the topic. And following the syntax rule from before, you can see launch variables. We are invoking a variable from the Zapier flow or from any API call, and the variable name is topic. Topic will be whatever the user types in Slack. Let's connect the start block to the research topic block. The second block is another generate text, and you can see it right there, which means we are generating text calling an LLM, a large language model. Here's the prompt. Here's the input from human, which includes the topic. The topic is, again, invoked from the API call or from Zapier, and it's basically whatever the human typed in Slack. But then we have here's a research on the topic, and this is a normal variable, research. The difference is that this variable is created within this workflow. In fact, the previous research topic block is not showing the response of the user, it's saving the response in a variable named research. Since this variable was created in this flow, we can refer to it with the standard syntax, research. Then we ask, write 3 variants of a catchy LinkedIn post. Here are 10 great LinkedIn post examples. You should clearly use your own company post so that it can mimic your tone of voice, your style, and your overall structure for these posts. Here are the 10 examples, and finally we say it's absolutely essential you use Slack formatting and not Markdown. LLMs typically default to Markdown, so it's sometimes useful to say, please make sure you're not using Markdown. In the end, we pasted the final guide, and that's pretty much it. In the end, just connect this block to the final chat endpoint, and that's it. Now what you need is an API key. That's how Zapier will interface with all of your workflows inside a workspace. You do not need a specific API key for each app. You need one API key to interact with all of the apps in your workspace. Before we create one, click on the app name and then copy the app ID. We will need this later on. You can copy the app ID from here or from the list of apps you created in the workspace. To show you what that looks like, let's click on Publish. This is essential. It will not work if you don't click on Publish. And then back to the list of AIs in this workspace, you will see the LinkedIn post generator. If you click on these 3 dots, you will have an option to copy the app ID. Remember that the app ID is specific to every app, and it will be used to determine what app to call from the Zapier workflow, while the API key is connected to this workspace right here, the workshop workspace. One API key from here will let us connect to all of these apps. You can have unlimited apps in your workspace and call all of the different apps, all of the different workflows with this API key. Now let's click on the settings icon and navigate to API. You will see there are no API in this workspace. Let's create our first API key and let's name it YouTube. Click on Create and navigate back to API keys. You will see the name is YouTube. Here's the token, which is the actual API key, when it was last used, and when it was created. You can delete an API key, create a new key, and monitor all of the different logs, so every time the API is being called and what was the response. You can learn more about how to use this API in a no-code tool or in a normal code base by clicking on Resources. This will tell you more about the endpoints, how to pass variables, etc. Now let's go back to the API keys because the only thing we need from here is actually this token right here. So let's click on the copy icon and save it in a notepad. Now that we have the app ID, the API key, and the workflow in MindStudio, it's time to jump into Zapier and connect this workflow to Slack. Before you get started, you will need a Slack channel that you own or you have admin access to. This will not work if you can't connect to a Slack channel. So the trigger here is Slack. What will start the flow is the new Slack message. So that's the trigger for this app. Let's select Slack. And the trigger event will be new message posted to channel. Let's zoom in a little bit. New message posted to channel. Great. Then you have to select an account. This will be the Slack account where Zapier can find the channel. Let's click on it and select MindStudio Zapier. This is a new Slack account I opened for this YouTube video. Then click on Continue and select the channel you want to use. For this example, let's actually create a new channel. So let's go back to Slack, create a new channel right here, create channel, and name it Lee Post Generator YouTube. Let's click on Next and Create. Before we move forward, let's send a message in this channel. This will be very helpful to test this app and see all the test values in the workflow. So let's send --li a post about SEO. Nothing will happen right now because nothing is connected to this channel, but it will help in Zapier, trust me. Now let's go back to Zapier and let's refresh the results. You will see there's now Lee Post Generator. Click on that and let's continue. We want to test this trigger and select message B. Message B is the second message, and here you can see the text, --li, a post about SEO. Remember, this is the data we need to use and manipulate to send to MindStudio. Now, click on Continue with selected record. And the first thing we want to do is filter. We want to only continue if the text includes --li. So click on Filter by Zapier and only continue if choose text from step number 1. The condition is text contains, and it needs to contain --li. That's it. You can now click on Continue, and you'll see your Zap would have continued for this test data. That's correct, because it matches --li, a post about SEO, the text we sent in the channel. This is why we created this message before continuing. Now, let's click on Continue, and the third step we want is actually a formatter. These are very standard Zapier actions that will help you along the way. You can make this easier by just not having this condition, but it's a nicer interface, and eventually you will use these Zapier actions anyway, so I wanted to show you how they look like. Now, for the formatter, what we want to select is an action event text. This is because we want to manipulate a text entry, the message in Slack. Click on Text, and then select Transform Replace. You can search for Replace in the search bar. There you go. ID is string.replace. Click on this one. The input is going to be the Slack message in step number 1. Click on the plus icon, click on the first step, and select Text. Now you need to define what do you want to find in this text. You want to find --li, and you want to replace it with nothing. You basically want to remove --li. Basically, the output of this will be a post about SEO, which is exactly what we want to send to the MindStudio workflow so that it can start the research in Perplexity and generate the post with Claude 3.5 Sonnet. Click on Continue and test the step. You'll see the output is exactly a post about SEO. Great, this is what we need. Now we have the variable we need to send to the MindStudio workflow so that it can start and generate the LinkedIn post for us, or actually the 3 variants of the LinkedIn post for us. This means that we will not actually work with the text from step 1, we will work from the text from step 3, because this is after manipulation and is what we want to send to MindStudio. Before we call MindStudio though, we want to send the message working on it. So let's click on the plus icon, Slack again, and the action event will be send a channel message. It's the same account, and we want to configure it like this. The channel is going to be LI post generator YouTube, so the same channel. The message text is going to be a static text, which says working on it. We want to send as a bot. The bot name is LinkedIn YouTube, for example. You can change this name to be whatever you want. The bot icon can be robot face. Again, this is just an example. You can use any value you want. We don't want to include a link to this Zap. We don't want to attach images. But what we want to do is set up a thread. By setting up a thread, this message will be sent inside the thread of the first channel message. If you don't set up the thread, every interaction with the AI will create a new channel message in the general channel. You likely don't want that because it gets confusing quite fast. So to avoid that, click on the 3 dots right here, select Custom Value, click on the first step, and search for TS. TS stands for timestamp, which means it will correlate this message to the timestamp of the first message, hence creating a thread. Select TS, and we do not want to send a channel message. That's it. This will send a working on it message. Let's test this out. Click on Continue, test the step, and let's look at what happened on Slack. There you go. Here, inside of a thread, we can see LinkedIn YouTube sent working on it with the robot face. Great. Now it's time to call MindStudio and get our posts. From step number 4, click on plus and search for MindStudio. We update this app from time to time. You always need to be on the latest version to ensure it works properly. Select it and select Run Workflow from Action Event. Then connect your account. When you connect a new account, let's do that right now, connect a new account, you'll be asked for your API key. We copied the API key before, so let me paste it in right now. Click on Yes, continue to MindStudio, and this will authorize the Zap to connect to your workspace. Now the Zap will be able to see all applications inside of the MindStudio Workshop workspace. Continue, and now we need the app ID. Remember, we copied that from the app interface. Let's paste it in, and you will see LinkedIn Post Generator. Yeah, that's the right name. So let's click on it, and now the final step is mapping the variable. Up until this point, we can't send the input to the workflow. The only thing we're sending is launch variables arrow to the right topic. But this topic doesn't exist until I create it in the API. And in this case, the API is represented by the Zapier flow. Whenever I interact with the MindStudio workflow through an API or a Zapier workflow, I need to send the variable that I'm initializing. Going back to the flow 1 second, you will see I need the variable topic. I'm using the variable topic right here, and I'm using the variable topic right here. But if this workflow were to start right now, this variable will literally be empty. So once this workflow runs, the prompt will be empty. It will look like this. That's not what we want. We want to replace this $sign launch variables topic with the Slack message so that the workflow can run. To do that, let's go back to Zapier. And this variable box right here should be the variable name. In this example, the variable name is topic. It's whatever is in the launch variable syntax, stripping out the special syntax. So basically just topic. And the value of topic is step 3, because this is the value of the Slack message after removing --li. So let's click on the plus icon, select the step number 3, and output a post about SEO. That's correct. We don't need to change the workflow. If you leave it empty, it will choose the first workflow or the main workflow in the application. But you can select a specific workflow if you want to invoke that one. Then click on Next and test the step. After testing the step, you will see results, result success, callback in progress, and is loading sample. You will not see the actual response because the response might take too long to generate and not show up in Zapier. This is fine. Just continue, and the last step is another channel message in Slack within the same thread. Since we have most of the setup ready from step number 4, let's click on step number 4 and duplicate this. Let's move this step down after the run workflow. And the only thing we have to change here, everything is set up, remains the same. In configure, most of this stuff remains the same, including the thread, timestamp, etc. The only thing we need to change is what the AI sends, so the message text. Let's replace working on it with the response from step number 5, which will be the final execution of the workflow, so the 3 posts. Click on plus, then run workflow, and select result. In this exact moment, result is empty because the test from step number 5 didn't output the posts. However, the posts have been generated. And to check, you can go in the debugger or the API logs. Here in the debugger for the app, you can see we started this flow a minute ago, and we did get a response. So even though it's not showing in Zapier, the posts are ready, and we can continue. Let's rename this to final. Everything else remains the same. We have the result. We click on continue. We skip this test, and we publish the Zap. Actually, let's rename it before publishing. Hello, YouTube. Let's publish. And now this should work. Let's navigate to Slack, and let's start a new thread. --li, a post about MindStudio, an AI builder. We get the first reply, which is working on it. And then after a minute or 2, we should get the actual posts. In the meantime, let's try to message anything else. For example, hey there. And let's confirm we don't receive any reply. Yeah, we don't get anything. That's great. And let's start another one with --li, a post about social media marketing. Great. In this example, we do see the working on it. We see 2 replies here, which means that our posts are ready. That's great. We see that the AI got what MindStudio is, game changer in AI application development, no-code magic, versatility, model flexibility. Yeah, that seems correct. And now it's also researching social media marketing to write our 3 variants for the LinkedIn post about social media marketing. Here they are. If you want to check the whole workflow, remember everything is fully observable in MindStudio. So here you can see the debugger has all the information you want. Just click on this little arrow to see everything that was sent to the AI. And what you can see is that we are sending the actual input, so a post about MindStudio and AI Builder here, and it's replacing that invocation, that launch variable arrow to the right topic. So we are replacing that with a Slack message, and everything works as expected. You can also see the response from Zapier in the API logs. So if you click on the workspace name, settings, and navigate to API logs, you will see all of the calls from Zapier, and you can see the full response body to make sure it's working as expected. I hope this helps, and happy building!